Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another breakdown video. This is of the feature discovery series that has been released in the Insider program of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. You can check in the description below right now. Go to the website. You can sign up for the Insider program, and you will have these videos unlocked to you. These are just gameplay clips pulled from them. It's not the actual documentary style of them explaining everything to you. I highly recommend you check these videos out, and I'll even have the other two. This one that we're going to look at right now is the aerodynamics one. That one is still shown as unlisted. The other two are public, and I'll have those linked. But check them out. They're fully well done, and you'll learn a lot about what to expect from the simulator that's coming out. So here we are, greeted with an awesome shot of the TBM flying into the sunset, and this... we're going to go ahead and just start hitting play on this. We're going to watch this in real time, just make commentary here and there. And then we're going to go back through in a slower pace and look at things. Later on, you'll see some really cool stuff. Here's the 7478 flying through the clouds here. Not the international, the intercontinental. I screwed that up last video. Here's the TBM flying over what appears to be a massive thunderstorm on the right there. And then it's kind of a valley between two. And that looks absolutely incredible. Of course, Courchevel, we'll see shots of that. And I think it's Courchevel, not Lukla, I'm pretty sure. So you're seeing sloped runways, and they're really starting to show that off and how the airplane behaves. Look at how the gear is moving around. Very realistic. That's absolutely incredible, and it makes me very happy. There's Courchevel right back there. So yes, indeed, it is Courchevel, France. But looking at how the airplane moves with the new aerodynamics video that's been shown is that, wow, they have redone the entire flight dynamics of this simulator. And I knew they would do that. I knew we were not going to get a copy and paste job from a previous sim, lookup tables, etc. They actually went through and they made this happen. So I'm very, very excited for that. Here is the Icon A5 flying over the ocean, and man, look at this. Looks like something out of a movie. Look at that water. Look at how realistic that ocean looks. That is incredible, man. That is just so good. I am super excited for it. Here's the 172 with the G1000 package flying over some mountains, and mountain flying is going to be a huge thing in this sim. This is a shot of the Airbus A320neo landing at LAX, coming in from the west, which is a weird thing, but here's a shot coming up now. Look at this. First time we see a cockpit of a default aircraft in the new flight simulator. We're going to go back through this, of course, and break it down and look at everything. Back to the Robin. Here we are flying over the mountains, and it's just showing you right here. Look at the turn coordinator. They're very, very proud of how the yaw system is in the airplane. Here's some, a shot of the flaps. Here's the 748 climbing out, and we get a good shot. We're gonna go back through that again, but we get a good shot of the actual textures on the runway. Look at the heat blur coming off the engines, climbing out. That looks so good. The Skyhawk is gonna get completely iced over, as icing is completely modeled in this simulator, and we're seeing it right there. And look at this thing, can't fly anymore, wants to fall out of the sky, and that's the reason why we're seeing that. Here they are showing you the contact points, the different points that are on the airplane and how the atmosphere is affecting how the plane flies through it. Very, very, very similar to what we've seen in X-Plane. It's actually way more contact points than we've seen in X-Plane. But to me, this was like the final nail in that that discussion of people wondering what the flight dynamics are going to be like. We can clearly see how it's behaving here. In the next shot, we're going to see an actual wing stall. And if you haven't ever flown a real airplane, you wouldn't understand what a wing stall is. Usually you don't have the whole wing fall out of the sky. It's usually you get a buffet, and then you get to the stall, and you have one side of the airplane stall first. And we're seeing like a whole wing stall here, and you're seeing how the airplane's behaving and moving around. Very fluid-like, very realistic. Here's the cap, showing you that, straight up and down. The prop wash actually will affect your rudder. And that is incredible. They hadn't had that before. 172 doing a spin. I think we've seen this in a previous video, so I'm not going to touch on that too much. Flying through these volumetric clouds, you just get a real good sense of how well the layers are done. The nimbus, puffy style cloud. We've seen that texture like used over and over and over again in a lot of these videos. So now we're starting to see the, the stratus clouds and see the different style that's out there. So this is a big thunderstorm here. You can see a cell. Look at all of these particles coming into it, being affected by the turbulence. You're seeing the updrafts and downdrafts. This is all simulated in the thunderstorm in a cell like that. That's just absolutely incredible. You'll see some more. They just fire all these particles into the simulator, and you're going to see how they are affected by the turbulence. You could really see the turbulence inside that, and you would never want to fly through that thunderstorm right there. That would be absolutely catastrophic. You would not want to do that. And you can see the updrafts and downdrafts. But look at this. This is showing you how the wind behaves, how the world behaves, the atmosphere, their whole air mass in the simulator, and how it's affected by the buildings on the ground. You can see the stadium, how it rises over it, dips down in that valley, comes back down, rushes down. You can see how it hits that little hillside over there. Here in the mountains, you'll see how that is behaving. That is just so amazing for a lot of guys that like doing bush flying, mountain flying. You're going to have a realistic experience here of the updrafts and downdrafts near the mountain ridges. And to me, that's absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like this simulated before. This is truly incredible stuff. We're seeing the updraft here. We're seeing those clouds lifting up in the air. You can really get a good sense of what's going on in this picture. So this is a big deal to have brand new aerodynamics. The way they're approaching this is so cool. This is moving on to a different one. This is showing off more shots of the simulator. This is no longer the aerodynamics thing. Like I said, we're doing the feature discovery series clips. So this one's from episode 1, and then next one will be episode 2. But if you haven't seen it, if you've been living under a rock, maybe you haven't seen it, 2 petabytes of data. You have, all cities on Earth, 2 million airports, 45,000 airports, all roads, all mountains. Basically, like we were talking before, the actual world is simulated, is realistically as possible. Here we are looking at an airport. And remember, we're going to go back through this and look at some stuff a little closer, but I just wanted to have a quick run through. And you can see these awesome landscape shots here. The mountains, the snow-capped mountains, the way how alive this world feels. And to me, that's such a big deal. That is such a huge deal. And look at out there. You can see that whole front on that left side dropping rain. You see how it was cut between the 2 spots there. This kind of looks like the Mississippi River a little bit. I love how much detail is there based off of this satellite data we're getting. But when you really, really look at the finer details, you're seeing these little buildings and stuff that are modeled in 3D. And I don't know how the hell they do it. I don't. I understand the amount of technology that's there for it. You see the trees there in 3D. Absolutely incredible. We can see how these buildings are mapped out and how they pop up. See here, they're using that Azure cloud that we've talked before. Detecting the trees, 1.5 trillion trees, improving the buildings generation, the missing buildings, improve the quality of the Bing Maps aerial images because they're using Bing Maps. Here's a great shot of an island, and you can see the mask around the edge. You can see where it's not perfect, but I love seeing that because you're going to have imperfections inside the simulator. You just are, and we're getting to see those here. And to me, it just validates, hey, we're looking at in sim footage. And I love to say it, from the very first video I did, the first trailer breakdown, I said, this is in sim footage. And they said that it was. So this is another thing. I want to keep this in here for some of you that might have had questions about this later on. I'll just leave that there so you can check it out. But go through and watch the actual videos because you'll learn so much about it. And a lot of questions I get asked in the comments about this new flight simulator, they have answered a lot of that stuff. So you want to check that out for sure. That was New York there, and now we're greeted with some more seaside landscape. I just love the feel of the lighting, and we're going to see that coming up, and it's absolutely awesome to see the night lighting and all that. So talking about ground details here, you have the dirt, grass, and asphalt, and the grass is actually modeled, and you wouldn't think that it would be, but they actually have generated the grass blades. And that's crazy to think. How are they processing all that, and it's not killing your frame rate and all this stuff. And we've seen the water already. The water looks incredible. Really, really, really amazing stuff. Move along here as we get through this stuff. We got night lighting, and this is where I wanted to show you what we're talking about here. We have the blades of grass. You can see the individual blades of grass there, and that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So that means that you're going to be able to land on the ground. It's going to generate all this here, and if you're landing on a grass strip, you're going to feel like you're actually at a grass strip, essentially. That's just absolutely amazing. I love the different trees that we're seeing. Nice overhead shot there. I love the cloud shadows you see. So they're talking about the atmospheric, simulation here, the weather special effects, the night engine, and the volumetric clouds. And we've talked about that in every one of these breakdown videos that we've done. And this is no different, honestly. We're just seeing some more footage that maybe you have not seen. And I'm trying to do this as quickly as I can without drawing this out too much. I'm just overly excited about this. Here's a great time lapse. You're seeing how alive the clouds are, the weather engine, and watch what happens here when the sun goes down. Look at the lights coming on, how realistic that looks. And I haven't seen night lighting this good since, X-Plane 11's got great, night lighting. But wow, look at the air mass here. Look at how massive that system is on the right compared to the left, and the difference in the colors. And we've seen this shot before. In previous videos. Here's a shot in, looks like New York. And you can just see the rainbow, because the rainbows are actually modeled based off of the real thing. So if you are in the right place, the right time, looking in the right direction, you will see a rainbow. And that's never been done before in a sim. So pretty crazy stuff. You may have seen this shot here. This is showing off more of the rain effects and how it behaves on the airplane. That looks really well done, very realistic. You can see the TBM package there in front of us. But you're seeing just slight, bobbles and turbulence here and there, and that's perfectly normal. Looking off the right-hand side, this is a cool shot here because it's showing that icing we were talking about. Here's the TBM completely iced up. Looks incredible, of course. And here we are back to looking at how the rain, so this is accelerated time. We're seeing the rain falling over an accelerated time, but look how realistic on the left-hand side that looks. You can see how it's completely washed out on the left, and you can see where the rain is falling where it's not. And to have isolated showers realistically depicted here, that's a game changer. It really is. There's so many times you can be at an airport in real life here, especially in Florida, and you'll have half the runway being in a downpour and half of it dry. Here's the simulation of the rainbow, as you can see right there. A beautiful shot here of a time lapse, and we can see again. Watch at night. Watch here. I'm going to pause it right there and look at how the city lights illuminate the bottom of the clouds in a very realistic fashion from the light pollution hitting the clouds like that. And you can see the stars up there completely mapped, and you'll see Pleiades, and you'll see some other constellations, very, very, very cool to have all of that mapped. And I knew it was going to be the case. I really did. But just sitting here watching the reflections, this looks like a real time-lapse video you can see on YouTube, or anybody can go out and do a long exposure time-lapse or something, and it looks amazing. It looks just like that. Sometimes I look at this and I go, wow, looks so real. The overcast and how it changes the color of the ocean, of the water around, and you'll see this will pop to a daytime shot of it. I believe this is in Seattle, and you're seeing just how different that is. When you have those clouds above, it really darkens that water, but when the sun's out, you can see the color in the water, you can see the reflections off of everything. It's not dull, it's not drab. Just really, really cool stuff. Another shot here way up in the clouds and showing off those multiple layers that you're going to have in the sim. And I just can't wait. I really cannot wait. I'm so excited for this. And I get asked that all the time. Hey, Jeff, are you going to play the new flight sim? Of course I am. Of course I'm going to. Am I going to leave X-Plane behind? I'm done with X-Plane 11 when this comes out. I'm looking forward to what X-Plane 12 will bring to the table, but I'm definitely done with 11. Here's a great shot coming down through the clouds, the volumetric clouds. Look at that. That's super realistic. That's how it should look. And look at how the sun's scattered out across that way. And here they are just showing you a shot of one spot and the difference in weather and how it affects the world. And it's so realistic, it's crazy. Like, I'm going to lose so many hours of my life into the simulator. Here's a great shot of the weather panel. Now, they hadn't shown much of the UI, but here we get a good shot of the UI. And we see at the top, we have a few clouds. Looks like we have a drop down where we can change between, like, you know, what we've had before in past Microsoft Flight Simulators of presets. Here we are seeing the different cloud layers. I believe they said it was like 30-something cloud layers, 32 or something you can have. So it looks like you can make your custom weather there right in front of you in real time. And then just, boom, you're back into the sim. At the bottom, you can see the time. You can just slide that back and forth. On the right-hand side, we got altitude calculation and AMGL, aerosol density, precipitation, lightning, ground temperature, ISA, and ground pressure. So a lot of different new options. And you see at the top is the altitude calculations at AMGL. You can change that. This is all stuff that we've never had before. So a lot more options when it comes to what you can do in the simulator based off of custom weather. And I'm not huge into custom weather. I use real world weather all the time, but I know a lot of people like it. So you're going to have a bunch of options when it comes to that. Look at the different shots here of the different weather in the same area. That is so cool. You can see the rain falling there in that one shot. This is just absolutely mind-blowing stuff. And we're seeing that, you know, those puffy cumulonimbus clouds, and we're seeing that a lot in a lot of these videos. And they're not the greatest thing in the world, but whenever it's a layer, it's going to be awesome. It's kind of like, you know, whenever you would be in FSX for the first time, right out of the box, you launch up and you just see these puffy, you know, white clouds everywhere that are cumulonimbus, or cumulus clouds, actually. You're seeing all these puffy clouds everywhere, but they don't look the greatest. And it's not the best that the sim has to offer, because when it layers up all these different clouds, well, then, yeah, it looks way better. Here's a shot of Australia. We're seeing how they take real data. So we're seeing how these, you know, the clouds are completely matched one for one. You'll see it zoom into the sim. Here's a shot of it coming into the simulator. And we're seeing how taking that real data, and we're seeing, bam, look at that. They have taken those actual fronts and they have modeled them to the T based off of cloud cover. That is something that is brand new. And it's absolutely incredible. So that is the end of that. Let's go ahead and swing back to the very beginning. And we're going to just kind of shoot through the beginning new stuff that we haven't seen yet. And we're going to look at it in greater detail. So the TBM again, we can see those wings bobbling back and forth. I love that. It just makes it feel so alive. It really does. This is a cool shot of cloud surfing with the 748. And what can you say other than we're seeing the change of the lighting? We're seeing, you know, how the beacon lights up here in a second. There it is right there. Very similar to what we've seen in the A320neo. So I'm not sure if they're trying to do a realistic lighting. And somebody actually said that in the comments of one of the last videos, that it was actually incorrect. And I looked back on it and I looked at it and I said, yes, you're right. So the beacon lights aren't coming on and staying on as long as they should. For that type of airplane, the new style of lighting. You're seeing the sun peeking through the edge of the clouds, which we didn't see if we back it up. We didn't see that when it was in the heavy part of the cloud right there. You can actually see the sun start to peak right around that condensed part of the cloud. And that is cool. And then when you come out here, you get that sun flare and it lights up the airplane in all her glory. That is a beautiful shot of a volcano. And then off to the right, look at how massive that storm system is. And I really love the left side because you see you have a huge gap in between those two cells. And you can see the airplane's at 14,830 feet. Altimeter there is 29902, so it's at standard pressure. You even though they're not above 18. And what was his airspeed there? His airspeed was at 162. So that's a good shot of what to expect from the the G1000 style package we're going to have on these airplanes. Believe this is the Robin, and we're looking off the right at Courchevel once again. I always get Courchevel and Lukla all mixed up, but this is definitely Courchevel that they are showing. Now, I'm probably not saying that right because it's French, so I'm always going to screw that up. But there's a great shot of the sloped runways. And we've had sloped runways at the end of the FSX and prepared time period. X-Plane has them, but if you're doing ortho, you can't really have them. Unfortunately, they have to go in and make a custom mesh for that. But you can see this is one of those airports that's not going to be a default airport. It's going to be one of those enhanced ones. Like, it's a default airport, of course, but they put time into making this feel very realistic. And I think that's great that they're going to do that with some of the airports, because somebody brought up a great question about that. How are the third-party developers going to make airports for the sim? And basically, it's going to be how it is now. You have an airport that's a default airport, looks good. You got buildings that are going to have that issue of being like really wavy and stuff from the satellite data. And they're going to have to go in and make them custom 3D. And you'll have actual, airports that you can get as like a payware add-on or something like we have now. Here's a great shot, because what I really love about this, not only are we seeing this Robin coming up the hill and how the hill actually does the braking for the airplane, but my favorite part is it gets over here to the side of the runway and bam, here is that 3D volumetric grass blades that we saw earlier in action, in how it lays on top of the actual satellite data there. You see it on the left-hand side, how it pokes up. That is really cool. And actually, if we go back when he was landing, you'll see here on the side. I mean, you've got, I'll get my mouse pointer, you can see, but we've got on the right-hand side, you got all of that pushed up. On the left-hand side, same thing, completely pushed up. And you get a good sense of being in this airplane where, just how much of an incline it is up the hill. That's absolutely awesome. So we know we're going to have this as a enhanced airport, we could call it, or something like that. And they used it at XO19 for a landing challenge kind of thing. So maybe that's the reason why we're going to see certain cities that have that. Like we've had in other sims where you have a certain landmark or certain place that is enhanced. This shot, I just can't get over it, man. That is the most realistic water. It looks like like an opening shot of Deadliest Catch or something, and you expect to see the boats crashing through the waves the next time by. That's how realistic that water looks. And the way the sun reflects off of each wave. Wow. I'm just blown away. Truly am blown away. We're seeing that synthetic vision on the G1000 in a working order here. We're getting a good idea of what it is. On the right-hand side, you'll see the trees and how there's not some there, even though the satellite imagery says there's trees there. There's not actual 3D trees there. You see the deforestation happening over there. I'm fine with that. Little things like that is not a big deal to me. So here's the Airbus A320neo on short final into LA, and we get a good shot of LA here. On the left-hand side out in the distance, you can see that's the city. You can see the cloud shadows where everything's hitting. Not normal to come in on these runways. Normally you land from the east. This one is landing from the west, which is very rare for LA. But we're going to get this next shot here, and this is a huge deal because we have not seen, since the first trailer, we have not seen a cockpit of one of these airliners. And here we are greeted with this. So remember, in the first trailer, we had no working instruments. The airplane was getting pushed back, and we heard some ATC and stuff. But there was no movement of any of the gauges. So that's not actually there. So here we are greeted with actual working instruments. And as we progress through the frames, you'll see we have working altimeter here. We've got our airspeed. I mean, he's coming in hot, man. 172 knots here. That's pretty fast. Definitely not VRF for one of these airplanes. We don't see the flight directors on. Remember, this is early on in the development stage of this simulator and this Airbus. So hopefully we'll have a pretty good Airbus simulation at the end of the day. However, we can see the flight director is off, ILS is off, all that stuff. So we're not getting that data here on the PFD. And we don't even have a flight plan loaded in here. Even though they have confirmed that there will be working MCDU, FMS in certain airplanes, and I'm fine with that. We can see the flap system's full, so we can see the flaps are indeed completely full. We can see the font, and I think this is what we're going to see at the end of everything. We can see the wind display here, which is weird that they're coming in with a tailwind, a pretty strong tailwind it looks like. And you're seeing the auto brakes, you got the low ones all lit up with a blue light, which is interesting. And then you have the clock here, and we have the standby altimeter showing, that's your speed. So he's doing about 173 knots there, and he's now about 750 feet off the ground, is what it looks like there. And you're seeing the nose. So we're starting to see here, I'm going to back up a little bit. You're seeing the oscillations of the airplane. You kind of get a good feel of what to expect from this thing. And you're seeing just small movements up and down. And what I'm looking out in the distance here is the approach light system. And you'll notice that all the lights, and we've seen this in other parts of other trailer videos and stuff, that the lights aren't overdone. You know, those PAPI lights are well done. We have the approach light system right there. That is very realistic looking for the time of day it is. I'm going to put my cursor away. Look off to the right-hand side. You can see all those buildings along the beach. You can see the reflections out onto the ocean from the beach. That is really cool stuff, man. That really is. Here's that shot of that Robin out here, and you can see the turn coordinator ball moving around. They're very, very excited about how that's been nailed to a T. And that's been a problem with every sim out there. The way that you have to, stomp on the ball, as they say. Here is the animation of the flaps on the 172 Skyhawk. And you can just see how beautiful that is. I love this shot here. So we're going to back up just a little bit more. The 748 is coming off of a runway here. We can see the attention to detail on this airport. I don't know if this is an enhanced airport or what, but look at the actual textures. So I would say this. I would say that this is a default airport. So we'll just put this in quotation marks. It's a default airport. But this is a good look at what the actual runway textures are going to look like. And I'm fine with that. I mean, and you could tell that it is. And the reason why I'm going to bring my pointer over here and show you, you could tell because if this was a satellite image or something like that, you would see a really dark area near all these touchdown markers. And that would be where the airplanes land in real life and how it, tears it up, and you get nothing but black marks everywhere. You're not seeing that. You're seeing a repeated texture here. So that tells me that this is indeed a default airport. And that's the default textures that we're going to see in taxiway markings and things. I'm happy with it. I'm perfectly happy with it. It looks realistic to me. And here's the animation of the 748 gear going up. And we can see those doors open. That is a thing of the beauty. That's a thing of beauty. And look out the distance. You see that green, that water is off on the right there. Here's a great shot of the climb out. And we can see just what it's like when the gear's coming up here. You can see just what it's like to have the engines at full power like that, and you're seeing the heat blur. Like, I'm trying to go back and forth, and you can see it frame by frame, but it's just really brilliantly done. Very subtle. It doesn't look like it's overpowered at all. It looks very realistic, and you can see the dark black kind of particle effects coming out as well, just from the engine, and that is beautiful. Wow. Just wow. That looks like a real picture, like out in the distance there with that city. I don't know what city that was, but so I love this because they're showing off the icing, and with that icing, we're going to slow it down a little bit here. You can see the nav lights get completely covered to the point where you won't even be able to see them light up anymore. The same thing will happen on the beacon light here. And right now we're seeing that ice forming on the wheel pants. We're seeing it on the cowling. We're seeing it on the windows and the wing. And right there, that's the worst thing ever. You got to do what you got to do to get out of the icing at that point, because that is going to bring this airplane down. And that was the last time we saw the flash of that beacon. Now that beacon's completely covered. Oh, no, there, it's still there. Maybe it did. Okay, it never got covered. I missed that before. We've seen all this before. This is, what we were talking about before, the aerodynamics being shown in real time, which is really fantastic stuff. And this looks like it's all shot in Seattle. There's the shot of the cap doing some aerobatics. You can see the movement of the airplane. And they were really trying to showcase right there that the prop wash coming down the fuselage and hitting that tail, how it does have an effect on the airplane. We've seen that shot before, the Cessna doing its spin. Here's that shot of us flying through the clouds. And I really want to show you right about here. Look on the top here. So we're seeing those wavy kind of bulbous looking clouds. And that is just so realistic. Like, look right down there. You can see how they're doing that as well. I don't know if they're trying to model Mamadas clouds or what here, but or what kind of cell this is. If it's a supercell, we know supercells are going to be simulated, but I'm not sure what we're looking at exactly right there. But we can see just how incredible the structure of these storms are. That's something we have never seen before. Here we're seeing that shot of the time lapse of that updraft. That makes me so happy. That makes me so happy to see. I cannot wait to see our world weather being manipulated the way it is. We went into great detail about this stuff here. It was fantastic. Looking for some shots that we want to actually go through. We went through some of this stuff. Here's another shot here of of an airport. This looks like the same airport we saw earlier of the 748 when it was taken off. Because you can see there's that mountain range there, and there's the city out in the distance. Not sure what airport this is. It kind of looks like San Francisco, doesn't it? Like that. Like they might have been taken off on the ones. Yeah, I believe this is San Francisco. Actually, now that I can see, there's the cargo facility out there. The new international. This is definitely San Francisco. And there's that big hangar there. So let's actually go back and watch that 748 whenever he was climbing out, because I want to see what part of San Francisco that was. If that was indeed San Francisco, that's what we're looking to see here. So 19, right? I mean, that would make. Is that? Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense. That would be San Francisco right there. You see that tower in the distance kind of gives it away. Taking off on the ones in a 748. Okay. I'm guessing here. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure that was San Francisco. All right. So back here, we had a lot of, shots of the cityscapes and stuff. So nothing really to see there. I just wanted to go into detail about, there's those grass blades again. We can see those individually modeled. That looks so good. And then one of my favorite shots, and it's definitely this stuff here. You're seeing that transition. Watch these lights come on right here. And of course, this is going to be a time lapse, so this will happen very gradually when it does. But no longer do you get that bam, pop, just lights on. You're not getting that. You're getting a very gradual transition, and that is wonderful. That's gonna be awesome to see. And look at that night lighting. Beautiful. Moving on from there, we have these shots, of way up looking at the air mass. Again, there you can see the rising of the clouds. You can see that updraft there. That is just so cool when we rocket back and forth. And you see in that rainbow, you see where the water's falling from that rainfall. There's the shot of that icing up. You see the synthetic vision, and we're seeing it creeping in from the edge all the way to the center, and it completely starts to really solidify there. And look at this shot. This thing is completely iced over, and that's not going to fly very long. I can tell you that. You're going to lose all your lift, and that sucker's going down. But that is brilliant. So another shot there. It's so beautiful. We can only say that so many times, but it truly is going to change everything. It's going to change everything, how we sim. And it's a very welcome thing for me. It really is. Well, folks, that does it for this look at the new videos that have been released by Microsoft. There is one more coming down the pipeline. It's a big one. It's about cockpits. So we're going to have a lot to go in on that one, so it'll be a separate video. But thank you guys very much. I really appreciate the support you've shown on the previous videos. And glad you like my little look or my insight into this, because I'm extremely excited for this. I have been since day one, and I can't wait for it to happen. Anywho, that'll do it. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.